my marker.
Message received.
The Russians are at half strength.
Alright, I guess we're back. So, chalk that up to technical difficulties, man.
Marking the hostile. 110 meters.
Alright, so... Alright, we're back. Shit, that's not back though. Alright, let me fix that real quick. We'll be on our way, alright? On the fly, I guess I'm getting shot at. Holy fuck. Let me fix my shit. There we go.
The enemy has Sector Bravo.
Fuck it.
You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I mean, I think with enough, with effort that's not too crazy, you could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You could turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence.
DNA is a storage medium. In other words, it's a hard drive.
Uh-oh.
You're a walking hard drive, your body. 1 gram of DNA, this is science, peer-reviewed science, by the way, guys. 1 gram of DNA, which is enough to put a little tiny drop on the tip of your finger, can store 700 terabytes of data. I'm not talking about, etherical data or mystical data. I'm talking about real zeros and ones that make your phone work and make your computer work. Zeros and ones, bits of data, zeros and ones can be stored on DNA.
DNA is highly programmable, just like a computer. And we can program a whole range of complex behaviors using DNA molecules.
DNA is the hard drive, the memory in every cell of every living organism is a digital storage medium. It's a sequence of a discrete alphabet of 4 letters, and if we could manipulate some DNA, we could put a message in there.
Message in the bottom?
So these scientists, the main one, George Church and Chris Shuri, those two actually together, are partners and scientists, they discovered this and they downloaded one of their books, one of their ebooks onto the DNA, and then they uploaded it from the DNA back to the server again. They was like, whoa, wait a minute. You can encode digital bits of information directly onto DNA and upload it back again. What does that mean? Well,
that's crazy.
We're walking USB drives, literally. Now here's what's really amazing about that. They then took that same ebook, downloaded it back to the DNA again, and they said, let's see how much we can go. They replicated the book 70 billion times in 1 gram of DNA. 70 billion copies of an ebook in 1 gram with 433 petabytes of data. That would be enough hard drives if we were using conventional hard drives to fill up this whole park. Think about that. In one tiny drop, inside of your body right now, you can store 13.5 billion years of data.
That's crazy.
Ironically, that's how old the universe is. So, you are the universe. You literally have all the information stored in your body from the beginning of time until this very moment, inside of you. So when people say the universe is in you, it's not just a figure of speech. Like, the universe is really in you, because all bits of data and particles, all bits of particles are all recycled over and over. All atoms are recycled. Everything is recycled. Everything that was here from the beginning is here right now. Nothing's been added. Nothing's been removed. Due to the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. You're just here right now in this particular form at this particular moment. But all the information in your DNA will go back. If you had the capability of decoding it, will allow you to find this out. So we know that DNA is a storage medium and it can store a massive amount of information. This is very, very important for you to understand. And like I said, on 1 gram of DNA, 433 petabytes of data. I don't know if you know what a petabyte is, but it's a massive amount of information. But let's take it to the next step now. Now they have discovered that epigenetic memories can be passed down 14 generations inside of DNA. Memories. So you're wondering why you feel fear of this and fear of that, or you have a phobia of this or a phobia of that, or you feel strongly about this and not so strongly about that. It's not because it runs in your family. It's because it's in your DNA. Memories are in your DNA. So what does this have to do with us? Well, we're looking at an entire race of people on this planet that have been literally enslaved. Every single race. Every single race on this planet has been enslaved. Now, and in more recent times, we've had one race try to enslave other races more than others. But, however, you have to understand this. We're all still slaves in the Matrix. It's an illusion to the ones who think that they did the enslaving. Yes, they did it, but it's still an illusion. You know why? We've all been enslaved. Every single person on this planet is a slave right now at this moment. But we can break out of it, and that's what we're going to go over today. And one of the most important things, I think, what you have to understand when you're dealing with people that have been oppressed in like even more recent times. So I just said epigenetic memories go 14 generations. Well, think about that for a minute. If you look at, for example, African Americans, we've only gone out of slavery for a generation. So if you see somebody that's stressing, that's under pressure, that's feeling the negative effects of what happened in the past, you can't just wipe it away and say, it's over now, you should forget about it. Because what they're truly doing is they're suffering internally. It's an internal thing, and it's not gonna go away immediately. It's gonna take some time to do what? Reprogram. We have to reprogram the DNA. This goes for a lot of the people that have been enslaved on this planet over many generations. 14 generations is quite a bit of time, but at the same time, it's a short period of time. But we're just now coming out of different types of slavery on this planet, and it's not going to go away in the blink of an eye. So you have to understand that. Now, how does this work with the law of attraction? What does DNA have to do with the law of attraction? It has a lot to do with the law of attraction, actually, because the law of attraction is actually initiated through the DNA. And how many people here have ever heard somebody say, I get a download? People say, I get a download. Don't laugh at those people, because they're really getting a download. And, you know, I've seen people laugh before and chuckle when people walk away. Let me tell you something. You don't understand quantum. If you think it's funny, you don't understand quantum mechanics. But anyway, scientists have also found out now that DNA sends and receives wireless signals, wireless information. We have a built-in Wi-Fi system in our bodies already. So, and it's just broadcasted between 8 to 10 feet away from the human body. So all times of day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're all downloading information directly from the ether of space-time itself. And what's in the ether of space-time? Remember, a human being can only see in a very small spectrum of light. Right. So what we're seeing right now is literally just part of the hologram. Just part of the hologram. Everything else, there's trillions and trillions of electromagnetic waves passing in you, through you, and out of you at this existing very moment right now as I'm speaking. That's all everything is electromagnetic waves. That's all that really exists. Besides that and consciousness, those two things collapse together and create what we call matter. So right now, we can't see these other waves of light, but they're there. But what's happening is if the DNA in your body is oscillating at a specific frequency that matches the frequency of an electromagnetic wave that's already out there, you can download information from that wave. What do waves carry? They carry information. Smoothie? Electromagnetic waves carry information. What I'm giving you guys is real peer-reviewed science. Write it down and go look it up and research it. All the information contained in the entire universe is passing in us all around us at all times. There is no original idea. If you're just sitting around going, man, I have a great idea, I'm gonna invent so-and-so. Not really. What happened was you got on the right frequency and you downloaded the information directly from the universe. There's a professor called James S. Gates Jr. He's a former professor at the University of Maryland. He's at a much smaller college now. He was also the scientific advisor to President Obama in that era. But he's a specialist in supersymmetry and theoretical physics. And this guy is one of the leaders in this in the world. He's not just some guy who plays around with this. He's the leader. He gets together this super team of quantum physicists, and they start digging into the ether of space-time to figure out what is floating in us and around us. What is this space-time? What is space? And he discovers that it operates on something called Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes can be traced back to the Dogon tribe in Mali, Africa, who actually were the original Egyptians from the land of Kem. They later migrated out to Mali. But they have these codes. These codes represent, they're flat codes on cloth, but when you take them into a third dimension, they represent sophisticated numerical mathematics that depict something called error correcting codes in our modern science. And these error correcting codes are what run search engine browsers and websites. So what is governing the function of our space-time reality in the third dimension is a software program that runs websites and search engines. This is peer-reviewed science, guys. So this is how powerful you are. So what's happening is you're syncing up with information that's already on the net, and it's downloading into your body, and you're processing that.
Just like
But that's the Wi-Fi part of it. So with the law of attraction, what happens is,
I don't believe
the law of attraction is not just something. A lot of people hear you, oh, law of attraction, I'm going to use the law of attraction, but they really don't know how to utilize it the proper way. And it's a real powerful tool to use in your life. And if you really, truly understand the law of attraction, you're going to make your life so much easier. It goes along, though, with the reprogramming process. You have to begin to start the reprogram. If you want it to work consistently, you can make it work by accident here or there, spot it. But if you want it to work consistently, you got to continue to reprogram your DNA. And then you have to understand one other thing, quantum entanglement. But in quantum entanglement, which is something in real physics, it's where you use something called parabolic down conversion to get two photons or two particles on the same frequency. So once you get two particles on the same frequency, you could take one particle to the other end of the universe if you had the capability of getting it there. And the particle that's local to you, you can change the information in it, put data on it, and the other particle will change instantaneously, bypassing the speed of light. What does this prove? The thing that I said in the beginning. Distance is an illusion. There is no distance. Separation is an illusion. Matter of fact, there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. If I were to take all of the empty space out of your atoms, I can fit all 7.5 billion people into a sugar cube. It's just an illusion, guys. It's a hologram. It's all consciousness and waves out there. It's really all that exists. But back to the law of attraction. So what happens in the law of attraction is once you understand how quantum entanglement works, and scientists now have discovered that the brain, the neurons in the brain, phase in and out of the third dimensional reality. Look it up. I always give you real science that you can research for yourself. So your neurons, between your synapses, are actually phasing in and out of the third dimension. Where are they going? They're communicating with other realms and other dimensions, syncing and quantum entangling with particles and thoughts in other places. So when you understand this, now you go, oh wow.
Well, yeah.
When you're supposed to, when you look into the ancient tablets, especially in the Emerald Tablet, which is why I wrote my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, the biggest part of my book is where Thoth is talking about the power of manifestation through meditation and thought. And he's literally talking about how to sync with the universal consciousness through something else, which I've labeled the Christ consciousness. So the Christ consciousness doesn't mean you're syncing up with Jesus Christ. What it means is you're syncing up with the idea, the concept of this higher level of consciousness that exists out there in space-time. So when you yourself are aligning yourself properly with the universe, vibrating on a high frequency, and what does that mean, vibrating on a high frequency? That means you're thinking with love, not thinking with hate. You're thinking with power and love, not fear and weakness. And when you do that, that puts your DNA scientifically at a high frequency. This has been done in laboratories. They've taken DNA, they've analyzed a person's thought patterns through caps that they put on with electrodes, and they've got them looking at photos that show people getting murdered, then a photo of a field of flowers, then a photo of somebody hugging a child, and then a photo of somebody getting beat up. And they analyze those thought patterns in a laboratory, and this is how they learn this. So at specific times when you're feeling the mode of fear, the DNA, there's a frequency that oscillates over your DNA. It covers a very wide band, and it covers less of your DNA. In a high frequency love mode, the frequency oscillates much faster, and they're hence much closer together, and more of the frequency is touching your DNA strand, which means you're operating at a high frequency. This is real science. It's not like, oh man, these people just got up here and talking about this aliens and frequencies and all this stuff. They don't know what they're talking about. No, I'm talking about real peer-reviewed quantum physics and quantum mechanics. It's important for you to know, because when you tell people about this stuff, they're like, you're a weirdo. But when you can back it up with science, they got to sit down and listen. So now, okay, you're saying, I want to manifest this into I want to manifest a spouse into my life, for example. Let's just go with that. I'm using my own personal example. Okay.
Holy
So
shit, what the fuck am I getting
I
shot
want to
in the
manifest a
back?
spouse into my life that's operating in the same frequency that I'm operating, that's moving in the same way that I'm moving. Because I tried it before, where one person's going this way, another person's going that way. It didn't work out. I did it twice. I'm going, man, I'm beating myself up. What am I doing here? Not that that person was all wrong or that I was all wrong, but it just wasn't a perfect match, on the frequency level. And I want somebody that's going to be able to not be perfect, because that's highly impossible, but somebody that at least just has understanding for the work that I do and the time that I put out and the people I have to meet and so forth and so on. So I start focusing on this in meditations. I start focusing on envisioning not a face, not a body, just a spirit light being that is in full agreement and movement in what I'm looking to do and accomplish on this planet. Okay. So now, because I'm doing that and I'm feeling this love frequency, this vibration and happiness in the meditation, I'm now operating at a higher level. Now I'm syncing up with the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is going to carry that photonic or that particle energy to sync up with the universal consciousness on a quantum entanglement. And now I'm quantum entangled directly with the flower of life, which is the face of God. And now what happens is, just like in standard physics, when you have a globe in space and you see space warps around the globe because of the theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of relativity, now replace the globe Earth with your consciousness, with your mind. Your mind is literally, now that it's quantum entangled, it's warping space-time. It's warping the ether of space itself. And now things that you're looking for are falling, because what happens to a body in space that warps space? Things fall toward it. Now the things that you want in life are starting to fall towards you. You're creating your own quantum entanglement. You're creating the law of attraction. Now you have things falling directly towards you. And this is how the law of attraction works. You literally create a gravity well, so to speak, that things happen to fall towards you. And as you begin to operate in this mode, it then begins to happen subconsciously, where you're not even having to directly focus. As the universe knows what you need, if you're operating in the right frequency, those things will just occur in your life and pop up for you. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this: we have the capability to reprogram ourselves. DNA is a storage medium. It's extremely, extremely powerful. And because we have the capability to reprogram ourselves, we can change the future generations on this planet. We can help heal people. There's a lot of people on this planet that need healing.
All right, that was good though.
60 meters from
I like that one
position.
too.
We're not short on resources, but we may be soon.
Oh my God! I did too slow. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Good. Fuck. Got your bitch ass. Saw you. Trying to sneak around.
Sector Charlie.
I shot that helicopter down too, bro.
I found transport!
Holy shit. God damn. I got too high up on that thing. Them niggas sticking together though. It's Friday night. Alright. They ain't trying to die tonight. Everybody like right next to their homie and shit. Alright, but yeah. Stay away. Just let me die. Let me die. You wasn't there when I was, you know, shooting in the gym anyway, so fuck it. Just let me die. Hey. Hold on, let's see. That looks bad.
Sector Alpha is now under our control.
Sector Alpha. Bro. Should I use... Yeah, it's either one or the other. Yeah, you're right. Damn, what the flare was that?
We've secured more sectors than them.
Bro. And drop.
Move fast!
Enemy forces control Sector Echo.
Come on, fuck.
Requesting ranger drop at these coordinates.
Will assist if able.
can't jump up there. Fuck.
We have secured more sectors than our enemy. Make sure you defend them.
Oh. As soon as I'm... Damn, let me get in this bitch. Holy shit, I heard that rocket, I thought it was coming from me. No, I got blown up by a mine. I'm thinking about a rocket get blown up by a mine. That's how Battlefield is. Ah, shit. Alright, hold on. Which one do I want? Oh, damn, got his head. Holy shit, come on, bro.
Alright, capture Sector Foxtrot.
I'm not fun. Raging. Battlefield. I need some help. Please, I'm dying, gang. Somebody come get me. We all dying. This fucking medic is overworked and underpaid. Oh, we're gonna go back here. We're gonna go this way. Yeah.
New plan.
Got your ass, bitch.
Watch my back.
I knew he was in some sneaky ass spot. And I had to like, bitch. Fucking try to lay on the ground. They always on the ground. I don't blame them, but I mean, got a flashlight and a suppressor. I want to see you, and I don't want to make a lot of noise. You know what I'm saying?
Ranger requested at the marker.
Let's see.
We got it. Our enemy just conquered Sector Delta.
Fuck that, I'm out of here. I ain't with no
They
fucking
control more
sniper.
sectors than us. Move to counterattack.
Holy fuck, what the? Oh, I didn't even look to the right. Mother.
Oh, I need help here.
There ain't no way nobody gonna help that.
Please.
Don't approach my position.
Don't approach my position unless you want to die. My dog is holding it down though still. Shout out to the dog.
Our reserves are now down 50%.
Okay. Alright, here we go. Back to this one. Let's go. Oh shit, there you go. He dropped the nigga. Holy shit. Holy shit, I fell down the stairs. Fuck is he? Holy shit, I don't see nobody. Is that a tank coming up? Yes, it is. Oh, I can't shoot him because it's the rocket for their fucking air. It's for like helicopters and jets and shit, not tanks. So it doesn't lock on to a tank. Ah.
We have full control in Sector Delta.
Tango down! Tango down! Friendly down! Perfect!
We've conquered more sectors than they have. Keep going.
Yeah. That fucking falling off the roof hurt? I think it did. I could have probably killed all three of them if I didn't fucking take damage from falling off the roof. Damn!
Sector Charlie is now held by us.
Requesting a ranger drop at this location.
Enemies attempting to seize Alpha 1.
Let's get going.
Holy fucking helicopter. Alright, let me spawn back. Hold on, let me see. That's the one you can't even lock onto that one either. I don't know how to kill that one. That's the crazy part about it. And then there's a sniper fucking aiming down here too. The helicopter's gonna get me again. God damn, of course. Damn.
I got Sector Alpha.
Damn. You gotta take this one back.
The enemy strategy is working. We must secure more
Crazy.
sectors.
Objective mark, move it!
We're with you, squad
My
leader.
team is just letting it. Hold on. Fuck it. Gotta get this one. Fuck, I don't wanna run out in the street, but across the street I go. Oh yeah, that's why I didn't wanna run across the street. Oh shit.
New supply drop ready.
Target down! Fire! Under fire! Need ammo! Fight for each other! Marking ammo crate!
Holy shit. And then there's a guy behind me. Oh yeah, of course. 3 in front of me, a guy behind me. It's crazy. He's laying on the rocks. Look at that. You could barely see him. Battlefield right there. That's crazy.
The hostiles have taken Sector Charlie.
Oh, what is going on? Let's see what this one's talking about. Shit, since I can't stay alive for long.
Called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die. They have held the secret knowledge by which the pyramids were constructed based on the map.
Receiving.
All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely. Not 7.41.1 or 0.2, it's 741.
God damn, that almost killed me. Fuck, go put that shit up so fast.
I began to investigate 528 by a divine revelation that was given to a Dr. Joseph Paleo back in 1997, along with the original musical scale, the original solfeggio. It was 6 notes by which the hymn to St. John the Baptist was sung. That was known as the most spiritually uplifting hymn of all the ages. And the 3rd note of that scale was miracle note, 528. So it was ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and the 3rd note, mi, miragistorum in Latin, means miracles in English. So from that moment on, I began to think of 528 as something very special, but I had no clue whatsoever what it really was. I had no knowledge whatsoever about it being a love frequency, nor did I have any concept that it was the prophesied key to the house of David.
I need a
In
pickup over here.
the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament, 22:22, and in book of Revelation 3:6-8, it talks in the end times about an angel from Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, coming and heralding a miraculous key that opened doors that no man can close and closed doors that no man can open. I had no knowledge whatsoever that that was 528. And now we have substantive evidence, massive amounts of evidence. It turned out that when we discovered the original musical scale, there was not just 6, but a total of 9 core creative frequencies to the universe. That is, everything in the universe is made from 9 notes, only 9. And that the first 6 are the solfeggio, and then there's 3 additional ones that form a perfect circle of sound. And that perfect circle of sound looks something like this. If you graph it.
Shit. That looks familiar
So
too.
the first 6 notes, 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852, was the original solfeggio scale. The 528 that you can see on my left in green is the color green. It's the heart of the rainbow. That's the miracle note from the original solfeggio note, from the original solfeggio scale. And the other note that you see, 741, which is part of nature, is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die.
Damn.
And so that the concept here is interesting. In the world today, we have people who are controlling virtually everything economically, geopolitically. Their agenda has been population manipulation, population control for millennia. They have held the secret knowledge, the ancient music, by which the pyramids were constructed based on the map. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to a 440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely. Not 7.41.1 or 0.2, it's 741, which meant that there was a clear, scientifically researched intent, and indeed that's exactly what happened. The 741 A440 link came out of military research in the 1930s to induce psychosocial stress and dis-ease to the max. It was selected that A440 would be the standard tuning for the Western world. In fact, quote, mass hysteria, end quote, could be induced by instituting that frequency. And now you begin to explain why you went from the era of Frank Sinatra, where women would mostly swoon over Frank. Suddenly, Elvis Presley, rioting began. It was scientifically determined for military acoustic warfare research that if you simply used A440 standard tuning, that you could engage about 6% of the population, perhaps, to actually go into this kind of crisis, into this hysteria. And that those people then, especially if they were televised and they were promoted and broadcast, could potentially affect a social, virtually British invasion. Now you begin to reconcile what happened. This information is all in the book of 528. Your heart center, your heart chakra, if you will, which spins in greenish yellow. That's the color of grass in the botanical world. That color of grass is that color because of 528. In fact, you would not have 5,280 feet in a measured mile if it wasn't for 528. You wouldn't have circles. You wouldn't have squares. You wouldn't have any sacred geometry. You wouldn't have pyramids. The pyramids are intimately constructed based on the mathematics of pi, phi. You wouldn't have pi or phi without 528. In other words, you wouldn't have anything without love. You would have nothing. The universe would not exist. 528, in essence, takes you from the heart of your heart through the heart of the rainbow, which is greenish yellow, to as above, so below, as it is in your own DNA, in chlorophyll, expressing the bounty and the glory of love throughout the botanical world. So it is in the Creator's heart.
528 hertz frequency has been determined to be nearly the precise center of the entire electromagnetic color spectrum. In other words, the center of the rainbow. At the center of the rainbow is the color green. Now you know why there's so much in the botanical world of life, so much green. Because everybody's vibing to the center of the blessing. And this is the first evidence also that we have, because your heart chakra energy vortex center is green, meaning that the center of your heart, now we have definitive evidence, is connected to the center of the universe. How magnificent is that revelation? So this concept also is additionally supported. There's only one number in the entire numbering system, whereby the electromagnetic color spectrum is the same as the sound system. That one number is 528. Both the same in color and
That's
sound.
crazy.
528 hertz frequency. The sad reality is that where we now play
Got your ass, bitch.
our music is in
Got your ass,
A440.
bitch.
Where did that come from? It used to be 417.
Damn, I couldn't
A440
remember.
came in with the Roman Catholic Church. They suppressed the frequencies. They lost
Roman
somehow
Catholic Church.
the 152 of the best Gregorian chants, including the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which we've now recovered. That particular hymn was what triggered Dr. Palaio's investigation, looking for those frequencies of vibration by which the music was played. It was known as the most uplifting hymn of all the ages, the most spiritually uplifting hymn. Hymn to St. John the Baptist. It was played to 6 tones. These are those 6 tones. These are those 6 frequencies. And so the A440 is what now is the standard tuning, that if you do the analysis, you know how I just showed you that the English language is 180 degrees flipped? I mean, you couldn't get farther away before coming back in a perfect circle, back to closer to the original, right? 180 degrees, that's as far as it can get. They did the same thing with the music. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. To do what? To shut down the 95% of your brain, particularly the right brain that operates the heart mind for the divine human community. When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're grooving to the music, you love that music. As you get farther and farther away from the broadcasting power, that music gets static. You start to lose the signal from the clear channel, broadcast, and it gets staticky. When it gets staticky, you get a little annoyed. But you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music, so you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted, you go, and you shut it off. And if you continue to listen to it, you get sick. That's what we're talking about here. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static
I'm almost at
your
it.
whole life.
Oh, he fucked his own self.
You don't even know what the true resonant frequency is because it has been kept. So in other words, the master composer, master conductor of the Universal Orchestra is singing love songs in 5/8, uplifting everything simultaneously.
Holy shit.
And we're the only species out of tune and accepting static for the clear channel. And let's look at the work of another genius in physics named Hartmut Müller. Müller is Russia's top space-time physicist. He, after years of study, created this, what he calls the standing gravitational wave of the universe.
God damn.
That there's one master gravitational wave out of which this entire double toroidal matrix, harmonics, and mathematics of physical, sacred, geometrical manifestation in the physical reality occurs. That single wave he calls the standing gravitational wave of the universe.
Back here,
and he further digests it as having subwave patterns, what he calls the N6. He says that N6 represents 6 nodes in which all of physical reality are precipitating, crystallizing, manifesting. N6. So here's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 peaks and troughs. You can see obviously how intuitively one would apply the 6 nodes to those just to see what you got when you do. He also says something very interesting. He says that the structure of this, the basic structure of this, simulates the double helix DNA. Now, do you see something unique popping out at you right here? You're about to see that the double wing structure of your DNA is structurally created into that simplest infinity pattern that Rodin showed us. The entire universe is spinning, just like your DNA, your genetics. And it's spinning as the mathematics is dictating. The numbers themselves are a tip-off. Let me give you the fundamental, the rudimentary origin of the numbers. Here it is. The most important numbers, 3, 6s, and 9s. Again, Tesla, who created Tesla coil. Tesla coils, energy amplifiers. Your DNA is an energy amplifier, a coil, operating by the 3, 6s, and 9s primarily. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you probably looked at engines or motors, magnets that have been wound with copper wire. When you do that, when you wind the copper, coil the copper around the magnet, it enhances the energy dramatically. That's what your DNA is. It's an antenna to the creator. Technically, the scientists call it photon-phonon emissions for intercellular communications. That's the primary function of DNA. Phonon is sound. Photon is light. So sound and light signaling. And before there was light, there was the water and the sound. So sound and light signals come into the cells, and the DNA is in a matrix of water, mostly structured. Star of David, like he held on his shield for protection. This whole concept of your DNA acting as a spiritual receiver and uplifter, sources from the mathematics, and it's not what the Rockefeller eugenics industry tells us DNA is all about. They say the function of DNA is to serve as a template for the production of new proteins. You have DNA going to RNA to amino acid, bringing together amino acids at the ribosome. The genetic or the controlled protein manufacturing station of the cell to build new proteins and cell parts. That's what they say all of genetics is about. It's a template, they say. But you know what that is? It's less than 4%. It's about 3% of the function of DNA. Just like you're using 95% of your brains, they've secreted and suppressed that part of you, just like they've done the same thing with genetics. 93% of the function of DNA is light and sound reception and transmission. Photon, phonon, reception, transmission for intercellular communication and cellular upregulation. Now, to further share with you and show you the science by which I can share with you assuredly, your DNA is an antenna to the Creator that operates like a Tesla coil because of the creative juice in you. Water, specifically, most frequently, the matrix of DNA is the six-sided hexagonal-shaped structured water molecule. And this is from science that Lee Lorenzen shared with me, and he shared with Dr. Emoto. This is from the journal Science. This is from Ron Sakeley's team, University of California, Berkeley, water scientists, who took DNA and evaluated how much energy potential is held in the genetic strands, and then changed the structured water matrix. They pulled the water out of the matrix and then rechecked to see if the strands were still spiritually or energetically active. And so here you can see 4 strands of DNA in that beautiful Tesla coil structure. Here particularly, you can see if you lay this on its side, you see the structure of the double wing, the Rodin's infinity pattern. And here you see negative 212. Here is negative 217 as an energy measure. And if they eliminated as little as 8% of the structured water out of the matrix, you lose the structure.
Crazy.
It unfolds, and look at what happens to the energy signaling. Negative 12.3 goes down dramatically. So this is what I'm saying to you. Now, in the last segment, you learned about how the heart, we talked about how the heart is resonating at 528 log hertz frequency to the center of the universe, resonating in sync. Your heartbeat is timed, ideally by nature, exactly like that. You're in communion with nature. It has the heart-mind intelligence. It provides that intuitive or right brain function, and that the connection to the sacred spiraling of all the DNA is operating through this water-filled structure. That's what's really uplifting, and that the energy that's being, again, pumped out of you in tune with the Creator is all working in sync. It's like a divine harmony. Again, that's why I say it's the universal orchestra. The master conductor, master composer of the universal orchestra is singing love songs to everything, uplifting everything simultaneously, particularly you, through this antenna, which is in every single cell. That means that every single cell of your body has this energy capability. It has this divine intelligence. So the concept that your being, your whole being is this, as I said, bioholographic precipitation, crystallization, miraculous manifestation of divine frequency vibration coming to you in living color. And you think about this for a second. Again, going back to how it's right in front of your face, this concept of how we're going to get out of this mess, this concept of the music that shall set us free. Think about the most famous band, rock band in history, the Beatles. But what did the Beatles give us? That is exactly what I'm telling you. They gave you a feature-length movie, an animation called Yellow Submarine. What was the whole storyline? It was where you had this magnificent people full of living color. All they were doing is vibing and being creative and love and harmony, and they were playing divine music and symphonies from Sgt. Pepper playing for the community to the quartets, and all of a sudden, who comes along but the Blue Meanies? You know, this concept of beware of those who call themselves Jews who are not, said the Messiah. Today it's beware of those who call themselves Christians who are not, or beware of those who call themselves Muslims who are not. Anyway, the concept of this being a Jewish conspiracy, this globalist manipulation, a Jewish conspiracy is in the film. You have the professor, the wise old professor, the nowhere man, this blue meanies come and attack.
Fuck. I didn't know if he was still there.
Big boss, the crime boss, is approached by the professor. He says, "You don't look bluish. Beware of those who call themselves Jews who are not." And then what happens is that the military of the blue meanies come and they take away all the music. They take the instruments. They incarcerate the instruments. And the living color, divinely created people turn into fragile black and white. That little bombs go off, mostly sound vibration bombs that shake them and they fall into pieces. And it was the mission of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band to rally the troops, to infiltrate, to release the instruments that are being captive.
So we have a choice that we can remain in dissonance, or we could literally vibe to a new song. That's the fulfillment of the book of Revelation 14:1, where 144,000 people who hear this message, that they feel it in their hearts, and they make a choice to sing in a new key, the key of love. You reconcile from that Jesus' entire ministry. Jesus, a devout Jew, Mosaic scholar, a rabbi, absolutely said that you can distill everything to two things: love of the Creator and love for each other as brothers and sisters. And that requires us to get a new look at ourselves, to get over the traumas and the abuses and all of the issues of self-hate, all the little images that we've taken on from the mass mind-controlling media, that we compare ourselves with models 10s when we perceive ourselves to be 2s and 3s. And from that, we have a distorted image of ourselves, and from that, a block happens. We no longer love ourselves. Our hearts, the energy from our hearts, literally degenerate. We become a shell of the person, the spirit-filled, loving, capable, worthy human being that we were intended to be. That's how the manipulation and control has happened.
That motherfucker got
We have a choice about that. We can say yes, indeed, now based on this evidence, that yes, that's part of nature, part of God's plan. But if you think about it, your own life, you never grew, you never learned the easy way, did you? You always learned primarily by pain or trauma. Lessons learned the hard way, the streets of hard knocks. That's what gave us the best lessons, the most enduring choice-making lessons. That's what we're talking about here. The question is, are we fed up enough with self-loathing? Are we fed up enough of being manipulated, mind-controlled into ignorance, dissonance, division, dividing men from women, black from white, gay from straight, Jew from Gentile, Christian from Muslim, right to left, Democrat from Republican? That's the name of the dissonant game. Divide and conquer. This whole concept of love, the universal healer, is what the book of 528 is all about. The beauty of this is that more and more of us play music in the key of love. It's like a pebble in a pond. You throw a pebble in a pond and the waves flow out in circle array to the farthest shores. The universe is made of water. Not only does the Bible say that, but NASA science proved that about 10 years ago when they discovered water throughout space. That means when you play 528 or sing, even better, in 528, that energy flows virtually universally, certainly across the planet, affecting as a miracle frequency the hearts of humanity, so that the heart chakras are open and beginning to spin. And as we spin this in terms of the eliminating the dissonance and regenerating the harmony, and so that's really what the Book of 528 is. It's a slam dunk on the science and the mathematics of love. You'll recognize after reading this book that there's not only the scientific proof, then it's very interesting for, left brain rational Harvard graduates like myself to kind of like consider what is this? Is this for real or is this some scam? And then when you see and you are faced with the realities, such as the chlorophyll molecule resonates in love. That's why it's like matches the heart of the rainbow, which is greenish yellow, which is 528 hertz frequency, which is exactly like the tone that's coming from the sun as measured by NASA science. You begin to realize that if you want to satisfy your left brain and your ego, you can do that with the Book of 528. But that's really not where the action is. The action is in your heart mind, not your ego mind. And so the beauty of the revelations in the Book of 528 is that we can literally accept that evil and poor choice making is a part of nature, is a part of human development and even evolution of the species.
Damn.
And involved in survival of the fittest for sure, but you know what? It's secondary to the sustaining miraculous power of love. And that's in your heart.
You gotta have love, you pieces of shit. I'll be right back. Give me a second.
We're moving to assault Bravo 2. Hostiles attacking Bravo 1. We have secured an objective.
You're short on reinforcements. You will be forced to withdraw if they run out. We've lost control of one of our objectives.
Bravo 1 taken by hostiles.
U.S. troops assaulting one of our objectives.
Yep, they are. They taking this shit back, boy.
We have lost control of Bravo 2.
Nothing. Holy shit. I was just standing there. That's crazy.
If we stay longer, they'll bring
Defeated.
reinforcements. We've lost this fight.
Get them next time. see what we can do here.
Commandments and a number of other rules, and among
All right, here we go. Let's go.
the beginning of the study of magnetism can be traced back to Egypt. Also, we find the Greeks used it, and among the Greeks and early Egyptians, we have the first understanding of the nature of magnetism. It was used principally in healing. It was well known to Pythagoras, who gave us considerable information on the subject, which was promptly forgotten by everybody else. Then we have little knowledge of it, except through the Arabs. The Chinese were aware of it because of the discovery of the mariner's compass. But for the most part, it was neglected until the 17th century, when it became involved in the story of Rosicrucianism. The alchemists, the Rosicrucians, and the Hermetists all were unfolding phases of magnetic theory. Then we come down a little later and we come upon a curious instrument, Mesmer's magnetic tub. This was a kind of tank in which many people put their feet at the same time and held hands and created a battery out of the water in the tank. Incidentally, the magnetic theory is based upon a very simple fact, namely that what we call empty air is not empty at all. It is the most profoundly used all the elements that we know anything about. We all live within air and have our being, and we know that if air fails, we die. But what we do not realize is that air is not just some oxygen or helium or something of this nature. Air is something in itself. It is a substance of itself. It is a substance so real and so important that it's almost impossible to estimate it. It is a tremendous field of magnetic energy. The atmosphere carries the magnetism of the sun. The study of the magnetic powers of the sun will be more or less clearly understood by the study of the seasons. Winter, summer, spring, and these things have all to do with a magnetic factor in the air. And we think of it only as in trying to explain it as a physical astronomical phenomena, since as the rotation and revolutions of the sun and planets. But each of these planets is a field of magnetic energy. And this energy comes to us through what we call air. One thing we have learned from television is that air transmits. We know, for instance, that we can have all kinds of programs on the air at the same time.
Yeah.
And they can come from all directions. And they can overlap and interlap. But each one will remain separately identified as though it was moving in a channel or a circuit of its own.
Yeah.
Something went through was vibration. And this vibration in the magnetic field can be divided into an infinite complexity of separate emanations. In other words, if we had 1,000 different channels, they could be differentiated in the magnetic field so that each one would be broadcast correctly and properly for whatever it is. Thus, we realize there's something out there besides air, something besides helium and oxygen, something besides the ordinary factors we take into consideration scientifically. We are in the presence of a mysterious agent, an agent that is part of everything that we are. Now, studying magnetism as it comes into the human body, we discover along with Kilda that each human body is surrounded by an etheric or energy field. This energy field is sometimes referred to as an aura, but it is not the true aura that we think of in metaphysics. This magnetic field is an area of energy. This area of energy forms an egg-like atmospheric sheath around the physical body, usually extending 3 to 5 feet from it in each direction. This energy field is the basis of virtue. because this energy field depends for its reality, its serviceability, and its protecting power to move emotion, thought, and the attitudes of the person around which this magnetic field is gathered. In other words, the individual, if they are normal, if mentally, emotionally, and physically, they are keeping the rules, this magnetic field forms a tremendous protection. It is normal, it is healthy, it is constantly able to handle infections and all kinds of difficulties. It will help to heal wounds. It will help to recover the use of functions and organs. And if we are deprived of some part of the body, it will try to compensate for us. As long as the individual takes proper care of his magnetic field, it will serve him. Now, this is a phase of morality that is generally overlooked. It is assumed that these magnetic fields are something you don't pay much attention to. They're there, maybe they'll help a little. But the truth of the matter is that practically the whole survival of the individual depends upon maintaining the integrity of this flow of energy into the magnetic field. This energy comes from the sun. It comes through a mysterious energy tube in the magnetic field. It enters the individual through the crown of the head. It disseminates through the entire body, and it's excreted back again through the lower centers of the body and is recleansed by the solar energy. This is a kind of a little private tank or capsule of life that we are all carrying about with us all the time.
Damn!
Now, the problem of morality in this is very definite. The moment we break rules, we damage that magnetic flow. We have got to keep the laws of nature, and these in turn are the laws of God, or the magnetic field fails. It can fail because of physical intemperances, which reduce its integrity and reduce its power. It can be wasted in riotous living, which is a common cause these days. It can be variously destroyed by moods, by attitudes, by fears, by complexes. It can be destroyed or damaged by alcohol, drugs, narcotics, all kinds of things. But if this field is damaged, it immediately reacts into health. It damages the individual's vitality. It makes him more easily subject to contagions and infections, and it definitely shortens the life expectancy. Now, we think of the magnetic field as surrounding the entire structure of the body, as Kilner shows in his work on the human atmosphere, and Babbitt also in his study of the atom. This, however, is only a phase of it. Each part of the body has a magnetic field. Each unit within the individual has its survival in a unit of energy. And this unit of energy is present in the smallest subdivision of imaginable space. It is in the tiniest atom. There is no such a thing as a dead particle in the universe. Even if it is killed by something, the very disintegrating process is a symbol of life energy. Therefore, we are confronted with the natural problem of realizing that virtue is to keep the law of the energy field. Now, the law of the energy field, just by coincidence, is also the law of integrity. The energy field is what establishes right and wrong. The energy field tells us that to lose our disposition and temper fit is wrong. To use various negative, destructive attitudes is wrong. To compromise the principles of right living is wrong. To think badly, to feel unpleasantly, to be engaged in any action or concept which is contrary to the common good damages the magnetic field and therefore is wrong. Selfishness injures that field. Every vice we know, the breaking of any of the 10 commandments and a number of other rules results in damage to that field. It has nothing to do with nation. It has nothing to do with the ordinary concepts of codes, because the final code itself is based upon the life principle in each part of the human constitution. So we have each little cell has its own moral responsibilities. The stomach has its own magnetic field. The stomach is not simply an organ. It is an organism. It is a living thing within the human body. The same is true of the heart, the brain, the glandular structure, all the organs, the intestine, all the motor system, the nervous system, the endocrine system. These are all entities. They are entities of magnetic unities. They are part of living organisms that are cooperating together for the common good. To abuse one is to damage all. To neglect one is to neglect all. Each of these organs has its own field in the body. And all these fields together constitute the grand magnetic field that surrounds the complete person. Now, we go inside of this for a moment to see what we're dealing with. So we go back to Pythagoras, who was very timely in that. He tells us that in Egypt, there was a temple in which therapy was the result of this contemplation of symmetrical geometric solids. In other words, the images of therapy were mathematical cubes, octagons, and various forms, dodecahedrons, each one placed upon a kind of altar or pedestal for the contemplation of the sufferer. All were symmetric geometric solids, perfect and complete in structure. To look upon them was therapeutic, because to look upon them accepted their energy as a reality in our lives. Now, these stone solids apparently were not alive. They only gave the impression of value, but actually they were alive. Every form in nature, natural or artificial, has a magnetic field. From the tiniest atom to the greatest galaxy, the magnetic fields are present, and the rules of each of them must be obeyed. Now, if an individual looking at a geometric solid sees in it a perfect proportion, this realization enters into the subconscious life of the person. The imagery of that solid is sent into the consciousness in the form of a benevolent magnetic center. It means that the individual is seeing a harmony, is seeing something in perfect order and perfect correctness. And in this, and in visualizing it, wherever we see perfection, it improves ourselves. Wherever we accept discord as inevitable, it injures ourselves. Everywhere looking around us in nature, we see that all natural things are benevolent. It is only when these are abused, mostly by humanity, that these benevolences are lost. So we find that we live in a universe in which everything is in harmony if we are. Now we can say, of course, that somebody else might be out of harmony, and this could injure us. Actually, it's not quite true. The magnetic field which protects us against any negative magnetic field that does not arise within ourselves. We are not contaminated by other people unless by our very conscious weakness or our intellectual weakness or our emotional weakness, we surrender our integrity to the attitudes of other people. If we commit misdemeanors of one kind or another, we are responsible by the effect of these mistakes on our own magnetic field. Now, the magnetic field not only covers this type of thing, but it covers elimination, the intestinal walls. All of this type of thing is damaged, as we know, by hysteria, by various moods. The individual becomes ill because of a bad disposition. Now, we consider this to be just symbol of something that happens that way, but it is not. The individual who is sickened by dispositional fault is sickened because he has damaged the magnetic field of some essential part of his own nature. If he has damaged the magnetic field of his digestive system, he will have dyspepsia. And if the dyspepsia lasts long enough and the magnetic field is sickened long enough, then enduring chronic ailments can set in. No individual actually is infected entirely from himself, but never completely without himself. All of these unities of facts must be in harmony. Now, in the Rosicrucian philosophy, we had alchemy, the transmutation of various phases of life. Alchemy was a transformation and a transmutation of energies. And these energies are essentially the same ones that we have in magnetism. We therefore have a constant realization that everything we do and everything that we see and have has values of its own. Now let us pick up a pebble from the beach, and we suddenly realize that we're in the presence of a little stone. Today there is quite an interest in little stones, all kinds of stones. We are interested in the crystals that form in rocks and all these types of things. But crystals are formed by magnetism. They are formed by a rate of vibration peculiar to a certain element. And that particular rate of vibration can evolve through the mineral, plant, vegetable, and animal. It is always present. There is a magnetic core on each kingdom, and each kingdom unfolds within this magnetic field. And within each of the composite fields, individual members of the fields with various degrees of growth are variously individually conditioned. Everywhere, this process of keeping faith with integrity becomes the natural secret of security, survival, and world peace. Now, we can say that it would be very unlikely that, we'll say, a potato could have a magnetic field of its own, but it does. In fact, every cell within the potato has a magnetic field of its own. Therefore, we come into the problem of nutrition. And nutrition is very largely the study of the magnetic fields of various food products. It also tells us what happens when these food products are adulterated or are variously misused or poisonous elements are introduced into them. All this is part of a mystery that is solved in magnetism. We pass laws against these misuses, but we fail to realize that it is not just the physical factor that we have to work with. The physical factor is only a fragment of it. The main problem is to realize that behind all of these problems, whether of government or of religion or of philosophy, all these things are in trouble because of lack of integrity. And integrity is simply keeping the laws and rules of energy fields. Each field has its own integrities. All integrities in all fields are compatible. All lack of integrities, all departures from integrity in any or all fields are in conflict constantly. The only way the individual can escape conflict is by never abusing the energy factors of his own life. He must never abuse his body, his emotions, or his mind. He must never permit himself to develop attitudes that are incompatible with the integrities which nature has bestowed. The magnetic fields are absolutely honest. There is no possible way of making them dishonest. The only thing we can do with them is to destroy or limit the manifestation of their integrity. If we break the rule, we lose the benefit of that particular energy. When we lose that benefit, we then say that evil has come to us. But it is not an evil thing that has come to us. It is the failure of a good thing to be developed and purified and intensified. The magnetic fields are also in a state of constant evolution. They're in evolution in the life of the person. The individual may be born on a certain level of magnetic integrity. If he becomes a better person, he strengthens these values in himself, because actually it is all a matter of gradually strengthening the perfection of an energy resource. Now, no one is going to perfect it in one life or 100 lives maybe, but he's going to grow. And the more integrity grows, the more rapidly the individual becomes harmoniously adjusted to the principle of life to which he belongs. In our world at the present time, we are in a sad state in which practically everyone has broken every conceivable rule. We are living day by day, trying to live off the profits from our own mistakes. And this is not really profitable. We are not realizing that this has nothing to do primarily with the theology. This has nothing to do with laws of government. This has nothing to do actually with our legal codes. It has to do with the relationship of energy to its proper ends and purposes. We know what it's supposed to be, we know what it's supposed to do, and we know that it isn't accomplishing that. Everything that has an existence has a magnetic field. It may have one that is not even visible. And the whole of our atmosphere, the whole of the world in which we live, is one mass of magnetic interplays. But as long as these are kept honest, they are all compatible. And a universe in which there was no dishonesty would be free from every infirmity.
Holy shit. C4 me.
The enemy has captured Delta Sector.
Alright, here we go.
The U.S. forces are weakened. They're nearly defeated.
Holy shit. Hello. Holy shit, I got it. What? I didn't reload? What the fuck is the problem? Oh, come on. Sniper, yes it is. Holy shit.
Foxtrot sector is now secure.
Assembling sentry. Оставьте меня здесь! Мне не нужна помощь!
We have superiority. Make sure we
course.
maintain that.
Sniper comes out of nowhere. See, that's what happened. It's broke or something. Because I'm still showing it locked. But he wouldn't let me shoot. Damn, it's going down. Holy shit, went through all that, did not even hit him. Fucking bullshit is that. Wasn't a tank, just for fun. Holy shit. He almost got me. Oh, I was about to.
Victory is ours, Snowpats.
On that note, y'all, I'll holler at y'all another time. Peace.
Let's begin, please.